Okay, so just to clarify, Bill C-16 has a clause in it that protects trans peoples and other non-gender binary members of society. Part of the NCA platform is to slash the clauses within Bill C-16 that says that basically if you're not a gender binary person, you do not have any rights.
Grab the microphone.
And that is not okay. We do not tolerate that kind of thing in a country as beautiful as this, and we will not tolerate this kind of talk.
I'm not here because of you.
I know that.
Yeah. Do you really think it's necessary?
No, I'm just glad you guys are here.
I could be on my
My father is a veteran. He did not follow us overseas to defend
Just.
So that we don't have peace anymore around here.
Everybody keep...
Just.
who's not having peace.
Bill C-16, the reason the NCA takes that policy, I want to be clear, because we believe it's redundant. Discrimination is covered by the Human Rights Act and also the Criminal Code. That's the reason.
Okay, so why would you want to get rid of it then?
Because it's redundant. It's not necessary.
It's added protection for vulnerable populations.
It's
and you
not-
don't seem to understand that these people are vulnerable.
Yes, they are vulnerable, but we believe it's redundant legislation. Also, it can target people for just using the wrong name
That's
accidentally.
not true. That is bad rhetoric peddled by hacks like Jordan Peterson. It is not real.
That's the reason we take that policy, but send us feedback on our website. We'll consider what you're saying.
No, we will not do that.
Yeah, that's all we're asking. Give us feedback. Maybe we'll agree with you.
I don't think so.
So what other policy do you not agree with NCA?
I'm not here to negotiate with you people. I'm actually not. I'm
This-
not going to do that.
This is not a negotiation. This is a civil dialogue. This is what people do in civil society.
Yeah, well, for some reason, people who have Islamic narratives and transphobic narratives don't actually believe in dialogue. They intend to abuse that dialogue for their own gain and their own platform for very backwards policies.
Can you back that up in policy?
Pardon?
What policy of NCA are you referring to back that up?
This is historical. This isn't something. This is totalitarianism is what's going on here.
How is it totalitarianism?
What are you scared of? How come you're hiding your
How is it totalitarianism? You're saying it's totalitarian. That's a big word, loaded word, so
Yes.
back it up.
I don't need to justify that. There is lots of literature on these kinds of things and how they develop. It is a long story. If you look into...
I will back it up. Look, 1920s, stick that up your arse, buddy. 1920s Germany. No one thought anything of Hitler as he solidified his power. Yeah, and you're filming me too. Good.
Why not?
You want to come to my house too?
It's a public space. Why wouldn't I film you?
Public space. It is. But you know something? People like you are not welcome. This is Cape Breton. We were built on immigrants. The only people that were here first were the indigenous people.
Amen,
You
amen.
people are not welcome.
We're not against immigrants, so where are you getting that from?
Oh, you're not against immigrants.
Not at all.
Yes.
Not at all. So back it up in policy. What NCA policy are you referring to back that up?
You are slashing the immigrant policy and eliminating the process of immigrants coming into this country.
Zero. That's false.
That is
We
not
want to
false.
reduce
If you go on the
immigration.
NCA website, it's right there. You
No.
can look at it. You can see it
Actually-
yourself. Go on the NCA website. You'll see it.
Actually, CBC just retracted that comment, and I can send you guys the letter if you email us.
Unfortunately, CBC, CTV, and Global are all on your side for some reason, so I don't really know how to trust those people either. But, go ahead.
It's a false narrative. We're not anti-immigrant.
It is not a false narrative at all.
We want balanced, responsible immigration.
You want responsible immigration.
Yes,
What does that entail?
that entails end to mass immigration. That's irresponsible.
I see. So what? We reject refugees? We
We never said that. We said end to mass immigration.
Let me just summarize NCA's plan here. Support public washrooms based only upon traditional biological sexes of male and female. That's point one. Point two. Rescind anti-Islamophobia bills E411 and M103. Point number three. Rescind C16 by removing sexual orientation and gender identity or expression from the Human Rights Act and Canadian Criminal Code. Point four. Rescind hate speech laws and criminal code. Point five. Rescind the Multiculturalism Act. So that sounds pretty white nationalist to me. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we had LGBTQ review that policy, and they praised us for how balanced it was.
Oh, really? Well, we have a trans person with us today, and I don't see them on your side, so...
I'm telling you, we have some on our side, and they said they're tired of the rhetoric. They're tired of the political correctness, and they like our balanced policy.
The political correctness.
That is a conservative narrative peddled...
Pardon me?
The political correctness.
What about it? It's everywhere.
What exactly offends you about political correctness? The fact that we are righting wrongs that we've done in the past, that we are not stereotyping people, that we are not, I don't know, that we are accepting people of all genders.
Why are you offended? That's political correctness. You're offended by what I'm saying?
No.
I'm offended, buddy, because
There
my
you go.
nephew's gay.
That's political correctness.
That's political.
That's political correctness.
There's a myth...
You're offended by free speech.
Okay, so there's a myth that it gets peddled along circles like yours, which is basically that if you call someone the wrong name, the wrong pronoun, you can go to jail. That is not how the policy of this country works. That is a narrative peddled by conservatives and ultra-right to backwards pedal the progress that we have made.
It says that in Bill C-16?
No, it does not, sir. No, it does not.
Yeah, in our opinion, it's redundant legislation. Because there's a Human Rights Act, the Canadian Human Rights Act, and there's Canadian Criminal Code.
What's the problem if it's redundant? I don't see how that's a problem.
It's redundant, and it actually can target, like you were saying, if someone uses the wrong pronoun.
No, sir, that is a myth.
It says that clear in C-16.
No, it does not, sir. I looked at it online.
Send us feedback.
How many people have been jailed for using the wrong pronoun? 0.
You don't know that. It's something worth looking into.
I'm pretty sure he's correct on that. I have not seen anything about that.
So
But you don't agree with that. You don't think someone should be jailed for the wrong pronoun,
You
right?
don't have any proof. You're just saying that people could get arrested, and that's never happened. This hasn't happened at all yet.
It's in the legislation, but
It's not in the legislation. It is not in Bill C-16 as it is told by pundits like Jordan Peterson and so on.
okay, let's talk about another policy. So we're not anti-immigrant. We want just reduction in immigration. Did you know 63% of Canadians agree with us?
No.
There's a poll out. 63% of Canadians want lower immigration.
Yeah, we want more immigration, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so why are we Nazi? Explain to us.
what
Policy.
This is a pipe.
What policy are you referring to?
I am referring to the policy that you do not want mass immigration.
We're against, because we're against mass immigration, we're Nazi.
is that
The logic we're using tonight?
Pardon me?
is that
Is that your logic tonight, or lack of logic?
Actually, my logic is pretty damn sound, okay?
So you support open borders, no borders? Is that what you support?
Yes, because that's how my ancestors came here. And
No, they-
that's how yours did too, buddy.
Wide open borders back in pre-Confederation?
Yes.
Well, actually, it wasn't. It was actually very Canadian-centered, European-centered immigration. There was actually a 1910 Immigration Act banning Asian immigrants into the country. Did you know that?
Yes, because I have a history degree in Canadian social history.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. So just You guys sent me an email. CBC actually retracted that a month ago. It went to the CBC ombudsman. They had falsely claimed I was a member of WCAI. That's now fully retracted.
Based on what, though?
Based on
There's no
facts.
evidence. They actually made it up. It was fake news.
Oh, it's fake news. Okay, Lucas Friends.
CBC, go look it on their website. It went through the ombudsman.
Who does
I believe
CBC
that when
work
you stop
for?
parading around the Islamophobic rhetoric.
They work
Huh?
for the liberal government
Where's
right
the
now.
Islamophobic?
The liberal government is
What do you
paying
mean by
CBC.
Islamophobic?
All that reduction immigration stuff is just anti-immigrant dog whistling to people who know.
So 63% of Canadians are racist? Is that what you're saying?
I've never seen that statistic, and I'd like to see the information behind where they got that statistic and the different people that they polled for that.
Get it?
Before I'm going to take something like that as the gospel truth.
It's probably higher, but that just came out 63%.
All you people do is lie. What the hell do you expect?
We were lying when CBC said I was a member of a group I wasn't.
And that's another thing. Like, I haven't seen that retraction, so I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll also believe it when you stop spouting the Islamophobic bullshit.
NCA is against political Islam, against any radical
Yeah,
Islam.
dude, exactly. That's another dog whistle that just means Islam.
It's not a dog whistle.
It's not a dog whistle? Okay, I guess
No,
we
it's
just
a,
don't
it's a
agree on
genuine
that.
policy. We don't support Sharia in Canada.
Anti-Islamic policy is a nebulous term, which means basically anyone who's from Saudi Arabia or the Middle East in general can be considered Islam if the proper legislation is pushed in the court of law. If you say anti-Islam, you're basically saying anti-anyone from the Middle East, and there's no glare on that. Like yeah.
We don't say anti-Islam. We want a ban on political Islam.
Do you believe in
Political
no-go
Islam.
zones?
There's a
There's a
Difference
difference.
between Islam and political Islam.
Do you believe that there are no-go zones in Europe?
According to the Prime Minister of Hungary and other sources, and actually the Prime Minister of Germany, yes, there is.
She even
Admitted.
So you believe that there are neighborhoods in Europe where Sharia law reigns?
Yep.
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 Okay.
Yep.
Right on,
Yep.
buddy, right
Just like the German Chancellor. She even admitted.
All right, buddy. I'll believe politicians.
You better do your research, though. You don't sound very informed. It's well documented in France, Germany.
well documented in
Sweden.
smear campaigns by politicians. That all of that is retractably false. If you look up the proper information, you will see that that is not true.
Why would the German Chancellor, who's a globalist, admit to it?
Yeah, and there's another one of the classic dog whistles, globalists.
Yep.
Globalism is a dog whistle for international Jewry. It's a classic dog whistle that you spout.
You seem to be.
True. It's actually we apply it to UN Agenda 2030.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that dog whistle does, is that there's a Jewish conspiracy that controls world politics.
That's not how we define it. We're
this is-
defining it by
This is why
globalism.
there's no point in talking to you people, because you mask your language from globalism and it ends up being something anti-Semitic. Like
Semitic?
What?
Anti-Semitic?
This is a classic fake
What?
switch stuff.
Anti-Semitic? Can you imagine?
We have joint members of the party, so we're anti-Semitic now. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, listen. One of these days, I'll get you to meet my wife. She's an immigrant from the Philippines. So I guess we're anti-immigrants, huh?
Globalism is a known dog
Yeah.
whistle, and when
There you
people
go.
hear
Dog whistle.
What they hear is Jewish people.
Dog whistles. It's all you can say.
Go to the policies, back that up in our policy.
Making things up now.
No, this is historically what happens. If you look up history, this is how this works. And that's why we're here.
How does what
Back
work?
it up factually, because
What
you're
works?
just assuming now, and it's creating division.
Not assuming, not assuming.
Because, you know, the one constant here is we're all Canadians. Let's remember that.
Okay, so are people from the Middle East Canadian, yes or no?
If
If they've been
if they've integrated if they want to be a Canadian, yes, they are Canadians. If they want to just push their culture onto us, no.
So, okay, well, what's the issue with immigration? Like, what's the problem being caused by it?
The problem is that it's on multiple levels. It's economic, costing over $40 billion a year, the new immigrants coming in. Taxation negative. Since the 1990s, hold on a sec, you're interrupting me. Since the 1990s, 50% of new immigrants live in poverty and off government handouts.
Okay, so
If you look at, can I finish? If you look at David Suzuki, environmentalist, he says our country is overpopulated. He says the immigration policy is, quote, disgusting. It's a brain drain from third world countries, and we're overpopulated.
I don't give a shit.
I don't believe that's something David Suzuki says, because
Look
he
it up, there's
himself is
video
an
on it.
immigrant.
You can believe whatever you want. That's a
Yeah,
factual statement.
I know David Suzuki. I follow David Suzuki.
We got the video. We'd be happy to send it to you. That's a
I don't
fact.
give a shit about David Suzuki.
Look it up.
There
It's a
you go.
fact.
I don't give a shit about David Suzuki.
So go
And
on.
I can tell you,
Immigration policy is
there are
very
just
clear.
as many statistics about how immigrants improve economies and they cause growth over the long term and that they end up being good for the countries that they immigrate to.
It's a fact that Canada, if you look at the history of economies, it's not based on population growth. Some of the best economies in the world, Europe, have very small population. Canada, at its economic point, was immigration neutral.
You do
Okay, those are
realize
facts.
that there's like policies also behind economic growth, like welfare state and all that kind of shit, when people have social safety nets to fall back into. It's not just immigration that causes economic growth and population sizes. It's a little bit more complicated than just saying small populations equal good economy.
Immigration has impacts on all levels of society, especially sustained mass immigration since the 1990s. There's economic things going on. The wages in Canada, since this mass immigration started in the 90s, going back to the 70s, have remained stagnant.
So
Hold on a
you
second.
blame immigrants for
Inflation.
neoliberal policies.
Inflation has gone like this. Wages have gone like this. And this is tied to the mass immigration. This is a fact.
Why is it tied to the mass immigration and not the neoliberal policies that have been getting implemented since Brian Mulroney?
Mass immigration, it was Mulroney who started sustained mass immigration. And this is tied to the Koch brothers in the U.S., the globalists. They bring in cheap labor. It creates greater competition for jobs, and it pushes the wages down because there's more and more people looking for work, and that's what's
You know
going on
who
in
pushes
Canada.
wages down? The bosses. People who control the wages, not immigrants.
Right now in Canada, there's a third world migration project in rural Canada. They're flooding third world migrants into areas where there's high unemployment. It's just going to cause more unemployment, and more people on handouts.
There's also
It's crazy.
depopulation.
It's crazy what's going on. We have the numbers. It's going on in Ontario, back east, out west.
The rural areas need population. We need
That's a false statement. That's one of the myths.
agriculture.
That's one of the myths.
Listen, buddy, I'm from a rural community. I watched my village go down to nothing. I watched the farmers get swallowed up by corporate capitalism. Don't make
Exactly.
sense to me.
Corporate
Exactly. Corporate
capitalism.
they want cheap
Exactly.
labor. They want temporary foreign workers.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Immigrants. We need immigrants.
Canada, it's a fact, and we just found this out. It's quite amazing. Canada has a positive natural population growth of 294 per day of new Canadians. There's a myth that our population is declining and that we need that we need immigration.
1.6.
It's also a myth that
294 a day new Canadians by natural population growth. That's a fact.
and it's a myth that our people 65 and over are overpopulated. And
Yeah.
when they go, but they're not. 16% of seniors are 65 and under.
We don't want to fight with any of you people. You're all Canadians. We're all Canadians. All we say is get informed on our policies, just so that you're not making assumptions, you're not getting to unnecessary anger.
You've seen the policies. They're no good.
Just read them and go through them. Now, there's a lot of misinformation. That's all we're saying. Just get informed. Go to the source. Go to the policies. Read them. Get informed.
Like the stuff that we pulled and read was from your website.
What stuff?
What stuff
And
are
it's
you referring to
contrary.
now?
I read the 5 or 6 bullets. Bring them out again. It's what the bullets say is different from what you're saying, which is exactly the bait and switch kind of stuff that we're talking about that people of your ilk do. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them in a second.
Yeah, get them and bring them up and let's discuss them.
Okay, point one.
If there's racism, if there's something in there, we want to know.
See, the problem is you're saying like if we have an issue with it that we could come to you and ask questions. We're telling you what the problems are, and you're defending the fact that they're not good. Like the whole redundancy issue with Bill C-16. That makes no sense.
We didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You said well, it was in Bill C-16 is redundant.
We said also to send us an email with your recommendations to amend it.
Right, okay, so we're open to interpretation and open to questions, but we're still going to keep going with the redundancy
No, we're not.
policy that is in Bill
We
C-16.
said send us your policy feedback on that particular policy.
Well, let me just read the bullets again. Point 1, support public washrooms based only upon traditional biological sexes of male
We
and
already
female.
went through that. Pick another policy.
We just read it to you and you asked us to do it again.
No,
But that's the C-16 policy. Pick up another policy.
Okay, go ahead.
They're idiots.
yeah, anyways.
And you're
All
not.
right.
They're idiots.
But I think
We
Percent
can all
They get no-
agree today.
Anti-Islamophobia
We can all
bills,
agree that we're Canadians here.
and M-103.
We're all Canadians here. Can we all agree on
Remove
that?
hate speech laws in the criminal code and remove the Multiculturalism Act. So,
Bitsy, get them across the road, bud.
Not,
So they don't get
it's
hit.
not remove
Please.
No, no.
It's not
Thanks,
remove
boys.
it.
yeah, it's to modify it so that no people from the Middle East come into this country anymore. That's basically what it
That's
is.
false. Actually, can I clarify that? We
Okay.
just had a political asylum seeker, a woman from Saudi Arabia, join NCA. Okay, she was just admitted into the country. She's a member of the party and she's donating to it. She's from the British Columbia.
Wow, one whole immigrant.
No, that's
You're
one
totally
example.
involved.
One example.
The reason she supports us is our strong stance on radical extremism.
Right.
Well, I guess she's duped by the logical conclusion of what these kind of policies do.
She's
So,
not duped.
sorry.
She grew up in radical extremism. She knows what it is.
Oh, now who's the racist one?
So that's why she's supporting us.
You know all the stats on like radical Islam and stuff, like the large majority of Muslim people don't adhere to far right fundamentalism. So what is the fear about people coming in here and instituting Sharia law?
It is here. That is a fact. We can also look at Europe.
Prove that Sharia law.
What about
is part of
ISIS?
this
We know
country
about-
now.
we
I
know
don't see
about
how that's
ISIS,
any-
right?
That is fear mongering at its purest.
It's not fear mongering.
It is, and
We
the
actually
whole
know
thing about
groups
the
in
like genocide
Ontario.
that you guys push is no good.
Okay, let me ask you one question. You
Give her the mic.
For a public school on Friday afternoon at lunchtime to have all the Muslim children kneeling and doing their prayers and then having their type of food every Friday. And they have someone from their mosque come over and do the preaching.
That is called religious freedom. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Are you a Christian? Are you allowed to go to church once a week? Can you eat meat and potatoes every time you go home?
Listen.
Easter Sunday, do we want to get rid of that too now? Because
But in schools, there's
it's a religious
not supposed to be
custom?
religion in
Oh, yeah,
schools.
oh, okay.
It's not supposed-
I see what's
Do the
going on
Jews
here.
out there?
So this is where the multiculturalism thing happens, right here. You're scared. You're scared of Muslims.
I'm not scared of Muslims.
You're so scared of Muslims.
I have two friends that are Muslims.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm not racist because I have a black friend.
I've been to their mosque. Have you ever been to a mosque?
Oh, okay.
Have you ever been to a mosque?
I'm not anti-inflammatory if I'm doing a numbers game here.
Religion and schools are supposed to be
Set
separate.
up the policy. Read
Okay?
our policy
If you're gonna have Muslims
on ban on political Islam.
praying
Get it
in
up.
school, then you gotta allow
Read it.
Christians to pray, you gotta allow Jews.
Get it. Read it.
All other religions
Yeah,
have
get it.
the same rights.
That's very cute. That's
You
very
cannot
cute, Douglas.
have one religion overrule the rest. You cannot.
I'm not opposed to that at all.
So you think it's
That's not what
okay?
you're saying.
You think it's okay for a school to cater to one religion and not other?
No, that's not what the school's doing. That's not what's happening. You got your facts mixed up and you're deliberately lying. That is not what's going on.
Oh, really? And where do you get your information from on this? Do you really know what the name of the school is and all that? Where it is in Montreal? Have you seen any research on that?
Yeah.
It's been in the news.
Oh my God! You're talking about Quebec, the same place that just passed legislation that does not allow religious paraphernalia
Yeah,
to be
like
worn
they
in
can't
the
wear
public
certain
service.
religious attire in public.
Well, yes, of
And you're
course.
using that as an example?
What's
No,
that?
what I'm
You're
saying.
using
Huh?
that as an example?
No, that's not what I'm using. What I'm particularly saying is school. You think school and religion are supposed to be separate?
No.
No. Oh, you
do
think
you
all
think so?
religions should be in school?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think only one religion should be in and not the rest?
No, if
Okay.
someone wants to like pray in school, it doesn't matter. Like if a Christian wants to, it's okay. If a Muslim wants to.
Yeah, but a Christian's not allowed to.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not allowed to. There was. They passed.
No, they passed legislation.
They passed legislation. Do your research. They passed legislation of. It's called the government.
The government has
government.
passed legislation banning it.
Provincial, municipal, federal,
Federal.
specific, please.
Here, tell it.
Here, I'll take it. Go. Go.
Just press the button.
Tell them what they
Well,
is.
see,
Who is
now
they?
You're,
Tell
you're
them.
gonna film the children.
There
Is
was.
that
There
what
was.
you
No.
want?
Oh, come on. Come on.
Oh, come on.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Forgot.
Why are you so full of hate? Why are you so full of hate?
What, are you?
That's what it is.
You're being ridiculous.
You're getting ridiculous.
You're being
Chill
ridiculous.
out. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down, lady.
My children and myself as much as they want to know, don't worry about it. Because I know I'm raising my children the proper way.
Good for you.
And the proper way is to allow everybody to have the respect and decency that they deserve in this country. And you are not providing.
How? Why? How? Tell us how. Tell us how. Back it up.
Tell us what we're
What's
doing.
your fact?
Tell them what? What do you want me to say?
No, but you just made an accusation.
Saying you've got to
You just.
Where the hell are they right now?
You just said that.
Working. Oh, working. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, brother.
They support you enough that they couldn't come
Yes.
out here with you? That's bullshit.
Good job.
Do you hang around with those words
Yeah.
saying, I have Islamic friends, and you can't even find them? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You show me their faces. You bring them over
The government
here.
passed
You
legislation
You're not
of separation of state and church.
I don't remember
Okay.
consenting to you.
So what we're saying
It's a
is, if
public
that's the
space.
case, great.
It's a public
Then
space,
no
lady.
religion should be allowed to practice their faith in our schools. Okay? Well, there you go. So what you want then is you want preferences for one single religion.
No, I don't.
Well,
None of that matters.
they're allowing that.
matter.
Who's gonna save your life
It
someday?
does matter. If you're going to let one religion practice in school, then you got to have a room for every other religion that wants to do the same thing.
This all.
You're saying that they can't do it in school?
This is all part of the M103 Islamophobia ridiculousness. Okay? This is exactly what it is. They created they created this bill M103 Islamophobia and first of all, it's not a phobia. It's got nothing to do with religion. A phobia is something that you have that you're scared of, right? Okay. Okay. So
Scared
what?
of you, buddy.
Why? Why? Back it up. What has he
I
done?
told you why.
Why? Are you fear mongering?
backwards and
You
they
fear
are-
mongering now? You're fear mongering with your fear? Hey,
Your
you're
white
spinning
Afghan
it.
state will
You're
never
afraid?
come, sir.
You're afraid, buddy, of dialogue? Is that what you're afraid of?
Afraid of dialogue.
Video.
Why do you be honest and have some integrity?
Since we're talking about
You
religion and
fearmonger?
scale kind of thing, how about how
Go
the
ahead.
indigenous cultures have been assimilated
Come here. Let this guy talk. Come, let him talk.
What Bill was trying to do was what it did was it classified Muslims under a protected class, right? So that you cannot commit hate speech against them. Similar to Bill C-16 around trans people, which prevents the harassment of trans people on their sexuality. The Islamophobia bill did a similar thing, basically counting discrimination against Muslims according to their faith as a form of harassment and legal discrimination, which can cause legal ramifications for doing it. Like in the case of say a Muslim was to walk into a store and the store owner kicked them out based on the fact that they were Muslim. That is now illegal. That's all that bill did. It didn't allow for school, like if you had a school that was to say only Muslims were allowed to pray, that school would likely get shut down by the federal government.
But that's not happening.
That's not happening, sir. And actually, M103 is not a bill. It's a motion called N103. All right? And all it does is it mandated the government to research this, quote, Islamophobia. And understand this, and what it was doing was trying to silence free speech against Islam. You couldn't criticize Islam. Have you read M103?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, go onto our website. We have a policy on that. Read the policy. We have the policy there. We provide our input. But that's something we can't support because what they're doing is silencing criticism of an ideology of a religion. Imagine that.
Wasn't it just about harassment? Because I remember reading that.
No, they were trying to silence because in the Quran, it is blasphemy. It could lead to execution if you criticize Islam.
It depends on the Quran, actually.
No.
And if you study, can I finish? If you study Islamic phobia, the whole notion of Islamophobia, see, he's afraid of the truth. He's got to come in. He's got to come in. Let me finish. Islamophobia was created in the 1990s by the Muslim Brotherhood to stop criticism of Islam. There you go. And what M103 was,
He's not finished his point.
and what M103 did was it put that into practice. It came from E41 e-petition.
Yeah, but the thing is,
So the problem we have is free speech in Canada. We believe we should be able to criticize any ideology, religion. So that's why NCA opposed M103.
Who made you God? Who made you
We're not God. This is just our view. What's wrong with that?
What you don't understand is that
Nobody said we're God. Why do you think we're God?
up to you to criticize
your policies
That's
put
our view,
vulnerable
right? We're
populations
entitled
at
to our
risk,
view,
and that
aren't
is
we?
the end of the story.
That doesn't make us God.
Well, you must kind of sound like it.
so it's free speech, right? So if the same government has people proceeding, would that be okay?
So, what about Canada Pension Town? How do you feel about that?
That's all right.
If the bill was to be passed about Christianity, basically it would prevent the, let's say, jokes about Jesus. You can't say jokes about Jesus in public. It's just not allowed. You don't have the same reaction.
100%. And that would never happen in our Christian-based Canada. It would never happen. It's just not part of Western culture.
What's Western culture?
You know what Western culture is, the freedom of thought, the democracy.
Part of Western culture is the assimilation of is to bring populations into this country and welcome them as our own, not exile them.
But I mean, like, what would you consider Western? Because there's Western countries, like, in the Western Hemisphere that aren't democratic. And there's countries in the Eastern Hemisphere that are democratic, right? South Korea and Japan are democratic nations, but they're in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Yes.
But say, for, I don't know, around 3,000 or 4,000 years, Europe was purely dictatorial. Like, democracy as an idea was only really came about in the West in the past century and a half. It's not very common.
So it actually started in the Greeks, and there's origins in India. It goes back way far, very, very far. Look into Plato, Socrates from Greece. Those are the origins of democracy.
Socrates actually believed democracy was idiotic, and that people shouldn't believe in democracy because Socrates believed it was called intellectual democracy, and democracy.
Let's talk about the Canada Pension Plan. What's going on with that? Canadians are getting very, very little back from their lifelong investment into that plan. That is a fact.
So whose fault is that then?
That is a fact, and it's being controlled by the federal government, and it's the status quo every time.
Yeah, that's true.
So there must be corruption in government. NCA wants to correct that. We want to shift it away from the government, give Canadians more control over the pension plan.
Give it to.
We figure, based on our financial people that work in the party, that we can increase it by 3 times the pension plan.
But who would you give it to? Like, who would you give the pension?
Those that need it the most.
No, I know that, but who would organize it if not the government?
Canadians would have more, it would actually be submitted to more private sector financial people. So Canadians would actually have more say over their pension plans. Another thing about it, no, small business, doesn't matter. Small investors, medium investors, big investors, it doesn't matter.
Wouldn't that make it harder for poor people to get access to a pension?
No, not at all. They would have more power over it. They have no power over their pension plan.
They don't now know.
Zero power. Another big problem with the pension plan is that you can only pass on a fraction to your kids. That's wrong. We would allow 100% passed on to your kids.
Just shut up and let him talk for a few more
But,
minutes.
okay, so you would want all of so the parent works for their entire life, dies before they can get their pension, and a kid who hasn't worked, just turned 18, gets their entire pension. I could see how that works. You know, if the kid, maybe would have relied on their parent for finance while they're going through school, but how would putting that into I agree with that, but how would putting that into a private corporation help? Like the private, that's my problem.
No, they would just have more latitude who is administering the pension, because right now it's administered through a central pension unit.
Yeah.
So that's just extreme bureaucracy, and there's been a lot of inefficiency and big bonuses and that type of thing. So there's a lot of investors in society that could be looking after that. It would actually be good for the economy. It would put more money back into the economy rather than having it in one hand.
It's also democracy too, because the government that we vote in is the government that controls the pension and gives it back to us.
But they don't put a dime into it. They don't put a dime into the pension.
Democratic right to vote.
The pension.
We do not need privatization of our pension system. We are the
She's stuck on this privatization.
Yeah, so we think it would give Canadians more say over their pensions. That's our plan. Go look it up. But also the key one is passing it on to
their descendants.
To the siblings, the descendants.
But wouldn't it make more sense to, instead of giving to a private corporation that could go bankrupt or be bought out by a stock at any time, wouldn't it make more sense if you want a less bureaucracy, lower it from the federal to provincial government?
But the federal government is getting it to private. You know that.
Yeah. No,
so they're dishing it out. It would just, Canadians would have more say where it's going, have more control over it. But they would have restrictions. They couldn't take the money out except for emergency.
So you want to lessen bureaucracy, that's the goal, right? So then wouldn't it make more sense to take it from the federal sector, from the federal government down to the provincial? Because then it's split up more, it's less bureaucracy.
It's creating more bureaucracy. You got more governments with their hands in the pies. That's not the solution.
It would be more direct, because instead of it, say in the current electoral system, with just Ontario and Quebec, you can win the entire country, right? In this, it would be individual provinces. So, like, say if you're a Nova Scotian, like all of us here are, right? We all live in Nova Scotia. So, if lower to the provincial governments, then everyone in Nova Scotia could decide effectively how it would work. Or if you were, or you could lower it to the municipal government even. But wouldn't it make sense to, instead of jump to the private option? Because once you privatize it, it's open up to so many problems.
If that's the thing, then who's going to dictate provincially, because all provinces across the country are different.
Yeah.
Okay, so say Nova Scotia comes up with your plan, and they decide, okay, when you turn 65, you're only going to get this amount. But Newton Brunswick is saying you're going to get more.
Yeah.
Out west, they're going to get even less. So how fair is that?
Well, you'd have the same problem with private corporations. So it depends on who, like, say, like you have Corporation X and Corporation Y, right? Corporation X serves a very wealthy, affluent community, probably white, right? And they get a huge pension that will guarantee that they last the rest of their life good. And the other one, right, is a poorer, lower working class, and it's probably in a more, you know, diverse community, right? And then one gets one corporation, one gets the other. Like, that's the same problem, right? Different corporations will do different things.
Yeah, that's okay. We will consider what you're saying, but we don't think shifting from federal is going to create more. It's going to be more bureaucracy in all these provinces.
Yeah.
But there'll still be administration over it. You understand that?
Yeah.
But Canadians would have more say on who's administering it,
No,
how the money is managed.
have a say.
You understand that?
If it's privatized, Canadians will not have a say.
Like, the only way I could say
They don't have a say right now.
They don't. And the way we look at it, they will get 3 times the amount.
Are we?
They're getting ripped off. They're putting in money for 50 years, for example. The money they're getting back does not make sense. All right? That doesn't make sense. So we want to deal with that.
You vote.
And another thing we want to deal with is the amount that is passed on.
We have an electoral system.
That's what we want to do. So another thing we want to talk about is veterans.
yes.
Right now, veterans, there's between 3,000, 5,000 veterans homeless in Canada. It could be more.
Oh, no, excuse me.
Why is it that the Legion wouldn't let you speak there? A place for veterans.
Because they were intimidated. Because they were intimidated by people harassing them.
Like you.
Excuse me. I called the Legion
Like you.
and asked why they were allowing people like you to come in and have a meeting. And they said they didn't know what you people actually stood for. My father's a veteran, and my nephew just did 3 tours of Afghanistan.
Good. Tell him we said thanks for his service.
Tell us
What's that?
that the veterans
Pardon
are
me?
homeless, and you guys are going to fix it.
Thank you for your service.
Can't even English.
The fact is, we got to deal with this issue in Canada. 3,000 to 5,000 veterans are homeless. There are thousands every month that are falling through the cracks in terms of medical disabilities.
NCA, go home! NCA, go home! NCA, go home!
There you go.
NCA, go home!
Have you read our Aboriginal? Let's talk Aboriginal policy. Let's talk First Nations.
Oh, yes, okay.
Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Watch it, you're gonna get run over.
And you do not belong here in Unamagi, Migamagi. Get out of here. We are an unseated Migamagi. Where are we? Migamagi. Where are we? Where are we? Migamagi. Where are we? Migamagi. Where are we? Migamagi. Where are we? Migamagi. Where are we? Migamagi.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Praise to our First Nations. Praise to our First Nations.
Not welcome here. You're unwelcome.
Why? How come we're unwelcome?
I really would like to know. Because you guys are spreading hate.
What hate are we spreading?
Hate spreaders, go home!
Give me an example.
What hate are we spreading? What hate are we spreading?
Hello?
What hate
You are not welcome
welcome here. Go home. What? Go home. Go home. You are unwelcome in Mi'kma'ki. Unama'ki. This is Canada. This is Canada. We have every right to be here. Unceded Mi'kma'ki.
Is that the whole extent of your?
Unceded Mi'kma'ki. Unceded Mi'kma'ki.
Is that all? Is that all you've got?
Settler go. Settler go. Settler go.
They got nothing. They got nothing. They got nothing. Yeah.
Settler go. Settler go. Settler go. Settler go. Settler go.
You guys should go.
Settler go. Settler go.
You're from the settlers.
What about the pioneers and nation builders?
They worked along with the Aboriginal.
Do you mean the ones that committed genocide?
Oh,
I'm
for
talking about the ones that created Canada, created the institution. Canada was here before you got here. Canada was settled before you were here. Canada did not exist. Canada was already settled. We had social systems, we had justice systems, we had education systems.
Oh my God.
You're talking First Nations, right? Of course. This is our first, we are sovereign nation. So what would you like? We have our own land, we have our own language. We are a sovereign nation. So is that, do you want to separate from Canada? Is that what you want? What do you want? You need to educate yourself. What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Lori.
Teacher settlers, teacher settlers, teacher settlers. What are you looking for? Go back
Oh
to
yeah, I
school.
know.
We can't turn back
Yeah,
to
the
school.
Aboriginal
What are
land.
you looking for? Why don't
Anyway,
you learn?
what's that?
I understand. I know all about the residential schools.
Oh yes. Okay, Bank of Canada. Huh? Talk about the Bank of Canada. She said. Lori says ignore them. They're idiots. They're idiots. Okay, I'll let you go. Okay.
Welcome here.
Okay, bye.
You are not welcome here.
Anyway.
You are not welcome here. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm just saying, this is what we're trying to do. We don't
I think we're going to.
Huh? No, they got nothing. But if we leave before them, they're just going to say,
Close it down.
"Oh, close this down." Okay, shut this down. Okay.
That's right. And they got to do all their investigations.
Thank you out there, our Patriot friends, for listening in. Obviously, these people do not have any constructive dialogue to have with us, so we're going to cut this one short. They're obviously they're all brainwashed, and they've got no points, no valid points. Thank you all. We'll talk to you later. Bye.